Hi, it's Phil Palmer here from Technobu, and this is the first video in our series, Smart Zoho for Beginners. If like you're searching for Zoho creator help and guides, and you're just getting the same thing over and over again, this was me. I'm 4.5 years self-taught on Zoho, Zoho Creator. Now at Technobu, we're creator partners, which we're really happy about, but we wanted to give something back to the community, right? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a series of videos where it's going to be really small snippets, nothing too long, nothing too intensive, where we tell you some really basic things to do in Zoho that I myself and my team have searched for over and over again, and we've just ended up figuring it out. Today's one's going to be about custom APIs. Obviously, this is a feature and functionality that Zoho released, and we love it. It makes life so much easier for us integrating into multiple systems. But you might be thinking, where's the documentation? Well, they're not great at documentation. Custom APIs really allow you, while you're using your application, to send and receive data very quickly. You don't have to use any middleware anymore. You don't have to host any file servers to get things back and forward. It is there, it is available, and you can use it as a Zoho creator user. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use my favorite tool, Loom. I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna run through how that works for you. We'll also look at API keys. We'll also look at creating functions to actually do something with that data when you've got it. If you just bear with me, it's my first video. I'm going to create the application, and what we can do is we can move data from one of our applications to another in real time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share my screen with Loom. Hopefully Callum is going to pull my screen up somewhere around here so you can see what's going on. So we've got Loom set up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trusty Zoho Vault and get myself logged in. So I'm going to go to my Zoho Vault account. We're going to go in as Technobu, and I'm going to verify my login. So if you haven't used this before, it's really good. It's a very good way of managing all of your logins in one place. So you just open up your app. If the notification doesn't work, sign into the app, open up your QR scanner and scan the QR code. It's then going to authenticate you, and it's going to get you straight in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my home, and you'll see a number of applications. This is our MVP platform. This is where we're creating many tools and applications to show to our customers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it really simple. I'm going to create one here called Inbound Ticket. I'm then going to create a form called Ticket, and guess what? I'm going to create a field called Description. I don't know if you're familiar with Zoho and the way that Zoho works, but if you have two different Zoho applications, you can actually use Zoho's internal function to be able to move data from one application to another. Obviously, in this one, what we're doing is we're pretending those two applications are client side and Zoho. So the next application we're going to build is the outbound application. So we're going to call it Outbound Client. And what we're going to do here is we're going to call this support. Okay? So we might be putting in a support module within a client's application. And we're going to put in here support required. Okay? Now, if you've never used Zoho before, you always want to click on the cog, put ticket raised, stick that in there, and then I always take off reset as well. I don't like it, it's not great. And we're going to call that done. So we've got two applications. We've got the outbound client and we've got the inbound help desk, where we now need to create a record in the client side and get it into the help desk. So let's go back to the dashboard. So I'm going to go to microservices now. So this might be a tab that you've never been into. And what you'll see is the many plethora of custom APIs that we've been creating. You're going to go to new, you're going to go down to custom API, and you're going to give it a name. So for this one, I'm going to call it test ticket. Okay? And this is a test to send data from outbound to inbound. I'm going to click next. The method I'm going to use is going to be a post, because obviously we are posting, we're pushing the record. And we're going to be using application JSON on this one. I always like to do entire JSON. I just prefer it that way, and then we can start to manipulate as we pull the data out. And I'm going to use public key on this one as well. Click next. Now here you can customize responses, which we'll go through in a future video. Let's keep this nice and simple. Right, so this is where we pick our application. So if I now go back, I should have done this first. We all do make mistakes. Let me go back. Okay, so I'm going to go into my solution. Okay, so inbound. So before you can do your endpoint, you need to set up a function. And this is basically telling the system what you're going to do with that. Now at this point in time, I don't know. So I'm going to create a function and I'm going to call it inbound tickets. The language, Deluge, we love Deluge. The namespace, so this is how you can quickly stack up your functions. So on this one, I'm going to put API, or I might put incoming. Return data, return type on this one is going to be void, because you don't actually need to return anything back to the system. If you wanted to do, and we can show you another way, we can return a status map. Be incredible. And we're going to specify arguments. I keep this really simple. I call it data every single time. And for this one, because it's not a map, just put a string. Okay? And at the moment, as we don't know what we're going to do with this, we'll click save. So now that's given me a function that I can attach to this custom API. So go to custom API. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it ticket outbound. We'll change it. Test to send ticket to inbound. Again, method, post, content type, application JSON, entire JSON, public key, next. If you want to pause, feel free. If you've got any questions, by the way, obviously chuck them in below. I'm trying to fly through this. It is really simple when you know what you're doing. So I pick my application, inbound ticket. I pick the namespace, incoming, and then it's going to ask me which function. And that function will only match with what you provided. So if you're looking at a map, it will only show you functions with map. It's quite clever, quite clever. And I'm going to click next. Now what this is going to do is give you a brief overview of what you've agreed, and that's all fine with me. And when I click save, it's going to give me my endpoint. It's also going to give me my public key as well, which is here. Lovely, exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to use the power of technology and save it outside of Loom. So we have that. As much as I've got a good memory, I don't quite have that much of a good memory. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to go into outbound client. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a function. And I could show you the cheat way of doing this, but I want to show you the right way, the way that we do things. is create a function. And I'm going to send ticket, send ticket to inbound. Deluge, namespace, I'm going to put this one into API or outbound. I don't need a return on this one. And my argument for this one is going to be an integer. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be fetching the data from a record. Okay? If you don't know the difference between integer they're the IDs of the records. It's a long number. Obviously, string can be anything. Okay, so here we are now, if you can see that. Right, so we've got the ID of the ticket record. So the first thing that we need to do is say what we're going to do. So we're going to fetch record. Yeah, so I'm going to call it ticket details equals, you need to remember what I called it now, support, then the ID equals the ID that we're pushing into the function. Okay, are you with me? Are you sure? We've got a bit technical, but just bear with me. We're taking the ticket, which is got an ID around it, and we're pushing it into the function. Okay, so we found the ticket details. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do ticket support equals ticket details dot support required. Okay. Now, if you don't know how to do this, custom APIs might be a little bit advanced. Obviously, give us a shout, give us a comment below. If there are more videos that you want to see about anything that you've seen in this video or anything else, just give us a shout and we'll make a video and we'll include you in it. Okay. Now, it's always useful within Zoho to create your own library of code. I've got one, the teams have got one, we share each other's. So invoke URL is Zoho's way of sending data. We have a lot of challenges sometimes converting curl to invoke URL, but generally we're okay. We get by. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my library, and what we've got here is we've got my invoke URL code all up and running, which is perfect. So the first thing that I do is I'm going to set out the URL. So this is the endpoint that we were given, which is this one here. Okay. Now, one thing that Zoho really doesn't tell you, we had to figure it out ourselves, is at the end of this, you go question mark, public key equals, and then push your public key in. Okay. Now, we normally use variables, but I'm not going to show you on this video because this is about custom API. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a map. Okay. So we're going to put in here support as our map, and then we're going to put the value that we get back from ticket support, which is here, into that map. The content type is application JSON because we're sending across in JSON format. We did that when we set up the custom API, and for this one we don't need any authorization. We haven't got any API codes, we haven't got any bearer tokens. So what we're then going to do is we're going to pull the URL variable, which I've not done that to, and we're going to put it into here. Perfect. Now the type is post. We set that when we created our API. The parameters are going to be value map, and we always put it in as a string. Okay. Headers, content type and authorization, And then just at the bottom, we're going to info the response. So what that's going to give me is that's going to give me the feedback from that invoke URL. If you're still with me, fantastic. I will try and be as quick as possible, but I'm trying to be thorough, I promise. Okay, there's one last thing that we need to do in this application to push a ticket out, because that's what we're trying to do. It's outbound. We're going to go into the form workflows and we're going to create a workflow. Now, you might not have seen this before. On support created, when the form has been submitted, what we're going to do is we're going to push to inbound by API. Create that workflow. Now this thing here is really simple. Set up a deluge script. You're going to go this app dot outbound, because that's where we stored it, dot send ticket to inbound. Now in here it's going to ask me to put in a field. Now obviously when we set this up, we set up as an integer, so it's expecting the ID of the support ticket. So to get the ID, input.id, and we're going to finish that row. So when a ticket is created, it's going to create a record, it's going to pull the ID, it's going to push it into our function, it's going to map out the ticket, and then it's going to push it to the endpoint. But what we're going to do now, so now we're going to go all the way over. Let's just take a quick look. I'm going to pull that in there, copy that, and now I'm going to go to inbound. So what we need to do now is we need to go into our function on inbound and we need to configure the receipt of that data file, okay, of that JSON packet. So I've copied this just so I can show you what I'm doing. So when we send it from one system to the other, it's going to put some curly brackets around it. It's going to make it into a JSON, right? What we need to do now is we need to unpack that JSON file. And it's really simple in Zoho. So what we're going to do is we're going to put JSON, we call it support. Yeah, so I'm creating my variable. I'm going to take data, which is what we've named it. And I'm going to get the JSON from it. And I'm going to be looking for support. Okay? What I'm also going to do is I'm going to info that data so I can take a look at it and I can show you other stuff that we can do. And then what am I now going to do with that? Okay. So I'm going to just comment out, fetch. Apologies for that, a slight technical issue with the camera, but hopefully we're all good and you didn't notice, but I just told you, so maybe you did. Right, okay, let's get back to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to fetch the JSON support out of that string. We've got it now, it's fantastic. What are we going to do with it? Well, obviously we're going to create a record in this application. So I always use these on the left. I love them. It's just so much easier to use than to have to write out every single time. Obviously I'm zoomed in, that's not easier. And I'm going to click ticket form and I'm going to put description and I'm going to put JSON support and I'm going to put in here new record because obviously we're creating a new record. And that is it. That is what we do. Let's recap. We've got a customer application who have to send a data to another application, but they need an endpoint. Fantastic. We create the function that's going to receive the data. A string is always my favorite, but you can use map if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But I use string. Create there, give it a name, data, string, give the function a name. You're then going to go into solutions and you're going to create that endpoint. You're going to make it a JSON. You're going to make it a public key. Why not? You can set some custom responses, but I just leave it as default. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go and select your function where you're going to be pushing that data in. And this is what it looks like on Loom. I'm going to click done, and I'm going to come all the way back out to my outbound application, and I'm going to create a record. I'm going to say support required. Please can Technobu give me some free Zoho lessons? Please can Technobu give me some free lessons? Of course you can. This is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing. We are here to help. Comment, like, subscribe, do whatever you want. But hopefully we've given you little nuggets of Zoho to help you along the journey, because we needed help in the past and there are people out there to help us. So I'm going to click submit. Now obviously we've got the submit workflow, which then triggers the function, triggers the endpoint, so on and so forth. So I click submit. Because I put the info in there, I'm now able to see what's happened. I've got a code 3000. 3000's good. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go into the inbound ticket, and I'm going to have a look at the all ticket report. And surprise, surprise, please can Technobu give me some free lessons. I hope you found that useful. There was a few things in there outside of custom APIs, like invoke URL, like converting curl to bearer tokens, authorization, mapping, strings. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's fine. We're here to help. Technobu.co.uk. Come and have a look at our website, drop us a message, speak to the support team. We're more than happy to give help. We obviously create applications, we support applications. We've got our services team that do everything from IT support all the way through to equipment monitoring and management, phone device, MDM, the works. We're just going into voice systems, custom voice systems that we are building in Zoho Voice using creator applications and pulling all that lovely data together. I hope this has been useful. If it has, I'd appreciate a comment and at least a like. We're going to be bringing out lots and lots of videos. And once again, Phil from Technobu, thank you very much.